Hey, YouTubers, I want to share some with you that was shared with me. My girlfriend came across this article about George Zimmerman. Witness testimony reveals George Zimmerman as a bully and racist in the workplace. There's audio. A former colleague of George Zimmerman's come forward to tell a story of being bullied and tormented by constant racing jokes at work. In a 15-minute interview released by the media, to the media by Florida prosecutor, an unidentified individual detailed his own experience with George Zimmerman. He described the constant name calling, such as being called a fucking moron. Zimmerman also mimicked the voice of Ahmed, the terrorist, to mock him. For those of you who aren't aware, Ahmed, the terrorist, is a dead suicide bomber puppet used by famed ventriloquist and comedian Jeff Dunham. For days, Zimmerman would joke about bombing and killing the man's family. The reason for this torture in the workplace? Zimmerman's former colleague is of Middle Eastern heritage. George Zimmerman was ultimately fired from his job for his bullying tactics and constant complaining about his colleagues. George Zimmerman is currently on trial for killing Trayvon Martin, an African-American teenager who was simply walking home to his father's home in the neighborhood Zimmerman profiled. Trayvon and chasing down before shooting him. Zimmerman's fallen colleague only sheds more light on the racism Trayvon killer has exhibited time and time again. This hatred of those other races combined with the shooting of an innocent boy of color has prompted the FBI to consider charging Zimmerman with a hate crime. And as more of the evidence piles up against Zimmerman, it's clear that charging with a hate crime is the right thing to do. Now, I'm going to let you guys know something. I was under the impression, thanks to the media like Fox and other outlets, and even here on YouTube, that most of the people that would support Zimmerman is white. Well, I'm going to go down here. And I'm going to show you, let me read this. I'm going to show you some of these images. If you look at these people, these are white people. So we got to be very careful. Okay? We have to be very careful not to lump all of these people into the same group. And I had to be careful with myself as well, to remind myself of that as well, because people out there who have racist mindsets and ideologies would like to play us against each other. Let me see if I can play the audio. I'm curious if this is the person speaking.
Today's date is March 22nd. The time is approximately 9:20 a.m. The person being interviewed is that correct?
Correct.
That person conducting the interview is Investigator Vodry of the State Attorney's Office. The interview is taking place at the State Attorney's Office. Would you just state your full name for the record, please? Okay. Would you raise your right hand for me, please? You solemnly swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, let me first start by asking you, do you know a gentleman by the name of George Zimmerman?
Yes.
And how do you know George Zimmerman?
We used to work together.
And at what time period were you employed by?
Approximately 2008 for about a year and a half maximum, probably mid 2009, I would say.
Okay, so do you remember your employment dates that you were there?
No, but I can look it up.
Okay, that's okay. So you say from maybe the beginning of 2008 until mid 2009?
March or April of 2009. I was there for like a year and a few months.
Okay, and at that time was George Zimmerman employed there?
No, he was employed the first few months.
Okay, the first few
When
months.
I started there, he was already an employee there.
Okay, and you had some issues with him while you were employed there?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe those issues for me?
There was multiple occasions. I was new to that environment, and a lot of people did not really like me when I first got in for many reasons. Cell floor was very slow, and I got in with some experience, so I did well right away. Of course, the fact that I'm Middle Eastern, that's normal. I'm used to that. So a lot of that environment in there was very close. They were, friends together. Didn't welcome me very well. All the employees over there had groups.
All right.
And he wasn't, and he was probably there like a few months before I was, but he managed to get in that group. And when he noticed that other employees didn't like me, and I was doing, when I started there, he chose me as that target to start to gain their trust, to gain to be in their group, and to be cool within the guys. He chose me because I was the new guy and didn't really like me, so he chose me to bully me. And he started out with a stupid incident.
So you described him as a bully?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe some of those instances where you felt like he was bullying you?
There was a lot of incidents, but the major incident that he just didn't stop, and he kept going on it. One day I was leaving, and again, being a yellow tag, they have a mentor program where somebody else would teach you how to do your job pretty much, because that's how they do their training.
Okay, you mentioned a yellow tag. A yellow tag is a person who's newly employed.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So, my mentor pretty much told me that George has already, he was doing not too long ago, but now he caught on to it really fast. So if you have any questions, you just ask me or ask George. That's what my mentor told me previously. So I trusted this George. He looked like a very nice guy. People liked him a lot over there. He's got great one face that I didn't see the other face till later on. And he gave me directions how to, when we lock up, we put 2 chairs in every office. And we turn on, you have this section to turn on all these TV, all the computer screens and all these cubicles. Put the 2 seats in every office. And then, make sure there's no trash. So I went ahead and did that. Being a new guy, I went out and he's like, "Oh, did you take the trash out in all these 6 offices?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." He's like, "Oh, you're supposed to take the trash out in your offices." Like, that doesn't make sense. No, you know what? I'm just not going to do that. Next day, he grabbed every employee in the place, explaining to them how a fucking moron I am of listening to him and doing exactly what he told me. I told him to do this, and he went ahead and did it. And I told him to take out the trash, and he took out the trash.
So he told you to perform a task or a job assignment that you really weren't supposed to do.
Exactly.
It was like a practical joke.
Exactly. It was a joke. But he didn't laugh in my face. He was laughing with every employee. I mean, he went to the service department, talked to God knows how many people about it individually, because people are busy, Mm-hmm. Every manager, everybody in the store were just laughing at this joke. And then the funniest thing is, or to them, what annoyed me, that in these stories I was portrayed like the, I don't know if you ever watched comedy, this guy is called Ahmed the Terrorist.
No.
Okay, so it's this little guy, he's got this weird voice and some, that was me in the story. So the story turned my accent to, "No, I'll kill you."
Okay.
And he kept going at it. And I tried to ignore it. It was like middle school, high school humor, but it was going on and on for days and days. You can't walk into the lunchroom without somebody saying something within these lines of that comedian or that comic show that I was telling you about.
Yeah. Again, you handed me a letter here. I'm going to show it to you. It's a letter dated Tuesday, July 8th, 2008.
Correct.
And it's a letter to...
Correct.
And with your name printed, it's a typewritten letter.
Yes.
Do you recognize this letter?
Yes, I typed this letter.
You authored this letter?
Yes.
Okay, would you mind just initialing and dating today's date?
Sure. Today
is the 22nd.
22nd, 2012. Okay, and I handed this to Human Resources. The person that was responsible for Human Resources back then, her name was... I forgot on top of my head.
Okay, but you submitted this letter as a complaint against George Zimmerman.
Yes. At first, before I did this, I went to a manager and I complained to him, and he said, "He's just playing with you." No, he's not playing with me. It's been taking me. It's been going on for so many days that I had violent thoughts against him. I don't care at that point if it would have cost me my job, because that was extremely like middle school kind of or high school kind of bullying that was just going on and on and on. And it was hard enough for me to fit in this environment, and this guy's making it harder and harder.
Right.
I mean, there's so many incidents about, I'll be walking by and he'll be with his friends and he'll say in very loud noise, saying, loud voice, he'll say, you know how yellow tag stupid guys are. They're just stupid. He said this term so many times. That's why I wrote it down.
Okay, you can read it.
Yeah, a fucking moron.
Okay, so he would refer to you as a fucking moron because you were the new guy.
Yeah. So he started leading these comedy shows in the lunchroom. And he'll have all the employees in there, and he'll start telling the story or anything I did with any customer. If he heard it, again, my voice in this story would be like that Ahmed the terrorist. And the terms would be all including bombing, I'll kill your family, all the jokes about Middle Eastern stuff. And then other guys were approaching me, especially older men in that place. Be like, Omar, don't listen to these guys. They're idiots. They're young. They're stupid. You're such a nice guy. Please don't get that to influence you. Just let you know that we like you. You're a good guy. And I heard that from a couple of employees that approached me and told me that to the point. I'm like, what's going on in the lunchroom?
Okay, so when he would relate these stories to other employees, would he use that Middle Eastern accent?
Yes.
Use these terms about terrorists? And did you feel that was some form of racism or some bias towards you? Okay.
Yes. I more than that. I think it was more because I was an easy target for him to belong to this group.
Okay.
That was more important than anything else. I mean, be honest with you. I mean, if this was all Middle Eastern environment, he would be with us making fun of the new Asian guy.
Okay, so you don't feel like he singled you out. It was more like he was trying to fit in with the clique.
Exactly.
So you were
the new guy.
Like, just
exactly.
The target.
Yes.
Make himself look good.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why, as you see in my letter, that I pretty much indicate that this is high school like humor.
Right. Just more immature.
Exactly. It was so immature. It was. I had to lay down all the cost benefits of really beating this guy up to teach him a lesson, and then at the end, after this took on a good period of time. It's been 4 years, but I'm pretty sure it was longer than 2 weeks of anger that I took in my heart, that I had to go home, think about it, have a few bottles of wine to think about what I'm gonna do, and then that was the first approach I did, and I wasn't very satisfied with the results. They sat down with him, they had a talk with him.
Did you say they? Is this?
Yes, a couple of managers sat down with him. They sat down with me first, asked me to bring this letter, the same letter you have in front of me, and I handed them this letter. And then they asked me the story again. I told them the story and all the incidents. And they were asking me, don't you think he was just playing with you? And no, I know if somebody's playing with me. If somebody's playing with me, when we walk back to, say, in the hallway, he won't give you that dirty look like, I hate you. If you're joking with me, you go by me and say, hi, man, what's going on? Hey.
Right.
When 9/11 happened, I was in Evansville, Indiana. So my tolerance as far as jokes or big humor, as far as that, it's very high. Trust me. But that's it.
Okay. Did at any point during your interactions with George, did he ever threaten you?
No. With
any violence? Did he ever put his hands on you in any violent manner?
No, he did not. No,
it was what you described and what you written, but is more like even how you described it, just immature.
Yes.
Behavior.
Yes.
But it had some racial overtone to it because of your heritage.
Yes, it would have been anything that these other employees didn't like, or if it didn't fit in. Like my friends were asking me, "What do you think about this case?" I don't know if I'm supposed to even say this or not. But my input on it: if the victim was, say, 30 years old and he was 250 pounds, he wouldn't approach him. That's the kind of guy he is. He approached me. He picked on me. A few months after I got hired, there was a guy who just came back from the military, and they hired him. He never messed with him. Because the guys liked him. He was the coolest guy in the clique. But no, this new Middle Eastern guy nobody likes. I outsold most of the floor within a very short period of time, and that was a reason or part of why I wasn't very welcome in that area. a year later till I made, I was friends with everybody in there. And
Once he had left.
Yeah, he was fine. I was so happy. I threw a party in my house.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable to work around. It was just very uncomfortable. I can't say a word in the meeting without him throwing a word in the same accent of that Ahmed the terrorist. Say, I'll say an opinion or something, and he would say, "Oh no!" They got the same accent, and the guys will laugh. This is such an insider joke. I can't say anything anymore. I'll be just sitting in any meeting. I don't want to say nothing. I don't want anybody to comment on me because I'm this close to snap.
Okay. And you said you did in fact submit this?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you could think of that might be important that we would want to know?
If you have any questions for me.
I can't think of any right now, and I do have your phone number.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever looked in his file or what. I mean, he was fired for calling the hotline so many times.
What hotline?
The headquarters, the HR. That's why they got rid of him, and he complained about each and every manager and every employee in the store.
Okay.
So many times they went back and they complained to the point that HR said we haven't had so many calls from a whole
so he
store.
He had a history of complaining.
Absolutely. That's why they let him go. Yeah, please look into this.
Do you remember what was he complaining about?
A lot of things about management and how things are run in the store, and he's explaining to HR how things should be run differently. And they're asking him from what experience. He says that I have no experience in insurance. I have my own company, and I was an agent for, I forgot the name of the company. He had his own company, whatever. But he was keep telling HR that things can be run better if this goes this way, or if this manager switches this department.
Did you get the impression that he was the kind of person who liked to be in control, like to run things his way?
That's what managers talked about him after they fired him. They said, he complained about everything. He called about the GM, God knows how many times, to HR. He was just on it and on it and on it. To the end, HR, I think, had to do something with it, calling the store and telling them to go, because this guy's nothing but trouble.
Okay.
But extremely professional in your face. I mean, again, when he went back to management and he was, after I handed over this letter, and he gave his point of view about it, he gave his point of view in such a relaxed, easy way that I actually doubted myself. After all these weeks of, being very upset. He's such a convincing guy that to the point that I'm like, no, seriously, this guy, maybe I misunderstood him. Maybe he's just a young guy. Maybe I blew this out of proportion. I'm here just to make money and go home. I don't care if I make friends or not. And it would be nice to have friends in a new environment, at least not enemies.
Right.
I want to make friends, just not have any enemies.
Okay. If we had any more questions for you, is it okay if we called you?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any questions you want to ask me? Okay. Has everything you just told me been completely truthful?
Yes.
Okay. The time is approximately 9:36, and that concludes this interview.
Now, that tells you a lot about Zimmerman's character, why he has issues with people of color. Now, one could safely assume, based on his father's heritage and his father going to a Fox affiliate, then going to Sean Hannity, then George Zimmerman giving a Sean Hannity, communicating with Sean Hannity that he was racist. I mean, let's just be honest. Father is Jewish, and we know how Jewish people feel about some. How some Jewish people feel about Middle Eastern people or people of color. We know how some feel about black people. Now, George Zimmerman is one of those guys that he's of color, but he's been raised in an environment where he doesn't look at himself as a person of color. He thinks and acts as if a white man. He's a white man. If you never knew Zimmerman dad was a retired judge, or he was half Jewish, you would say he's another you know what. But this tells you something more about him and his upbringing. But I still have a bad feeling, I hope I'm wrong, that this man is going to walk. Because we've seen the reaction from people in the media. We see reaction from politicians and John and Joan public